In this video, we are going to cover exactly how you can land a junior role that pays $110,000 as soon as possible. This is the shortcut, this is the roadmap, this is the step-by-step guide that you can copy and paste into your life so that you can start earning. Now, who am I? If you don't know me, if you haven't seen my other videos, I am an ex-Amazon engineer, now doing this full-time, earning $175,000 just a few years into my career, and I want to help you live the same life of freedom that I have. So if you're watching this video right now, you're probably not yet in the industry and you probably have one of two questions. So the first question is what to learn? What do you actually have to learn? Like, what languages do you need to learn? What do you need to learn about coding? Who do you need to meet? So on and so forth. So the first question we're going to answer is one, what do you actually have to learn? And the second question we're going to answer is what do I have to do to get the roles? And then what will the role look like? All right, so let's go ahead and answer this first question, what to learn. Now, if you haven't seen my other videos, I've actually covered this before, and there's really only a couple things you need to learn, especially as a junior. They don't expect you to know everything, all right? So if you're going to break in as a front-end engineer, you absolutely, positively need to understand some basic HTML and CSS. There are a million tutorials out there. You can learn this anywhere, and you don't have to be a master of them, but you need to be aware of what is an HTML element, how do you actually style them with CSS, so on and so forth. Okay, so that is the first thing that you absolutely need to learn. And as a follow-up to that, you need to learn a bit of JavaScript. You need to understand what variables are. You need to know how to reassign variables, for loops, conditionals, things like that. And don't worry if those are big words and they sound intimidating. These are just basic things that you're going to learn whenever you start to dip your toes into JavaScript. And what JavaScript does, this is actually the logic part of this HTML and CSS. So when I'm drawing on the screen or when I'm clicking a button over here, JavaScript is the language, the logic that actually brings websites to life. This is the language of the internet, right? And so it's absolutely crucial that you learn it. And the third thing that I would recommend you learn is some kind of front-end framework, okay? I recommend React specifically in 2025 at the time of recording this video because it is so widely used across the internet, and it seems that every new company, every new startup is starting to use React, which means in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, there's going to be a huge need for React developers, and this is not going away anytime soon. So learn some kind of front-end framework. You don't have to be a master of it. Again, just be comfortable enough that you can look at a project and kind of know what's going on. You can actually maybe stand up a project of your own. You can build a side project for your portfolio, but you need to be slightly familiar with React if you want to break in as a front-end engineer. And the fourth thing, which I'll kind of add as an afterthought, is you need to know a bit of version control, right? If you don't know what Git is, just look it up. Just know a bit of version control. And I hesitate to even include this because truth be told, when I started, I really didn't know about Git. I mean, I knew what it was. I used it a little bit, but I wasn't that good at it. It wasn't amazing, but just learn the basics of Git. Git checkout, Git pull, Git merge. Like, it shouldn't take you more than 30 minutes or an hour. So don't spend too much time here. Just know the basics of, hey, this is how production teams work on software, okay? This is how they keep version control. This is how they keep production in order. They keep a log, a history of what's going on, all right? So these are the basic things you need to learn to get that junior role, all right? So now that you know exactly what you need to learn, let's talk about what you actually have to do now. Once you actually have the skills, it's time to go and find that role. It's time to actually go and find that internship. And the way I recommend, the way I did it, the way I've seen most people break into this industry is they first take on an internship, all right? So intern or junior, these are kind of the same thing, but this is the typical path right here. So you're going to get some kind of internship, and then you're going to move on to be a junior. Maybe they give you a re-offer. This is the typical pipeline. It goes from intern to junior to dev, and then senior, staff, principal, so on and so forth, all right? So you are looking for one of these two. And even if you're an adult, a lot of these internships, they pay some ridiculous money. If you want to go and see how disgusting some of these internship salaries are, just go and look up Jane Street intern salary. Go and look up Jane Street intern. Do you know what they pay their interns? They pay their interns $120 $200 an hour the last time I checked. So if you actually run the numbers on that, I'm not sure the actual amount that is. Gosh, what would that be? About 220K, 240K, I think 240K. This is the equivalent of a $240,000 salary, I believe. You don't need to worry about the money. If you're good and you get the role you want, you can very easily make what you are after. And mind you, this is competitive, but there are other roles that are not nearly as competitive. So let's get into what you need to do. Your job right now is to talk to as many people as you can, because truth be told, as an intern, you're not that valuable. So what you have to do is you have to get someone to take a chance, take a bet on you. That means you have to convince somebody to like you, to bring you on because they believe in you, okay? And what does that mean? That means you have to talk to a lot of people, right? So the very first thing that I would do is create some kind of spreadsheet just to keep track of everyone you're talking to everywhere you're applying. Track your applications and conversations. The reason we want to track your applications and conversations is because there's going to be drop-off points, all right? Once you've applied or talked to, you say 10, 20, 50, 100 people, you're going to see, okay, are most people not getting back to me? Or after I talk to them the first time, are they then not getting back to me? Or is it after the interview? You're going to understand where your weak points are. And when you understand your weak points, then you can actually improve, okay? So first thing is set up some kind of system for tracking your applications. The next few things, I'll recommend a few things right here, but the reality is you're going to have to get crafty, right? When you're landing this intern role, it is competitive. You're going to have to get crafty and you're going to have to try a few things, all right? So first thing you can try is set up some kind of auto apply online. There's several tools out there. Just look up automatic job applier and you can plug your information in, your resume and, about yourself. And this is going to automate competition with the 99%. So in my opinion, this is a very low percentage way to break in, but it's in your best interest to still cover this base. Okay, so this is essentially doing the work that you would be doing of going and manually clicking job applications and applying, but it's doing it for you and it's doing it automatically. And that's one way you can scale your applications quickly, all right? The second thing that I would recommend, if you're in school or you're after school and you can find some way to go to a career fair, if you can find some way to go to some kind of job recruitment event, absolutely abuse this, okay? This is the way. Shake hands in person, okay? This is absolutely a way to score yourself several interviews from companies that normally wouldn't even get back to you, right, if you're applying online. And the reason is because if you can establish a personal connection with a recruiter or somebody at the table, their odds of giving you an interview is so much higher because all of a sudden you are a real person. They trust you, they like you, they know your face, and they want to see you again. They want to see you at the company. All right, so this is a much higher probability way to land yourself an interview and ultimately a job as an intern or a junior, all right? So I would call this medium percentage. And if you're after school, don't worry about it. I know there are meetups and different recruiting events in the real world, I guess after school, that you can look in your city, see what's going on. But if there's no career fairs or what have you, that's all right because we have a third method, which is going direct. And if you watch my other videos, I talk about this a lot because I've seen massive success with this in my own life. I've seen it in my friend's life, my colleague's life, and others as well. Go direct. What's stopping you from being an intern, going and reaching out directly to the CEO? What's stopping you from going and reaching out directly to the CTO? If you can demonstrate that you are competent, that you care, that you work hard, that you are talented, there is no reason why you can't go and speak to these individual people. And yes, they are not the quote unquote hiring manager. They are not HR. Yes, you are, kind of skipping the line, if you will, but isn't that what you want ultimately? Don't you want this job? Don't you want to be number one, the one that they extend money to, that they extend an offer to? Your job here is to leave an impression on these people, all right? Now, don't go begging for a job. Don't say, oh, I'm Steve and I practice React for 4 hours. No, your job is to demonstrate hey, look, I go to school here, or this is the way I studied. I'm a competent engineer. I see you're hiring for this. I went ahead and applied online, but I wanted to reach out to you because I like what you're doing here and I'd like to come work for you. Something along those lines. Doesn't have to be direct, but start a conversation with these people and you might be surprised how many of them get back to you. If you have a conversation with these people, I'm not even, we won't even talk about the next steps yet, but if you come in the company through the CEO or the CTO or the VP of engineering, you start on the company on much different footing than if you came through HR, right? If the CEO knows you and respects you, if the CTO knows you and respects you, odds of moving up, your odds of being recognized, respected within the company go way, way up, which just increases your probability of getting more and more salary, compensation, respect, money, so on and so forth, right? So if you are trying to break in as an intern, as a junior, as a developer, these are the 3 methods. And mind you, I have other videos on this as well. So click around the channel, go and watch more and talk about that more there. The last thing we're going to talk about is, what does the role entail? What do you have to know? What do you have to do? What does your day-to-day look like? That's what we'll cover here. So maybe you don't know anyone in this industry, maybe you've never worked here, and maybe you're just curious, like, what does actually the day-to-day look like? What will I be on the hook for? What will I be responsible for? So the first thing I'll say is it's normally pretty normal working hours. You may work 40 hours, you may work 30 hours, you may work 50 hours, you may work 20 hours. Like, it really depends, but it's usually not too crazy. On the high end, most I've really worked in my career is about 50 hours a week. And I really don't buy into the whole, other industries talking about like, oh, I work 80, 90 hours a week. I just don't believe humans can output that much, especially if you're dealing with complex stuff like coding. It's like your brain can only do so much in a day. So I would say here is you're dealing with usually like 25 to 50 hour weeks. A lot of it totally depends on how good, how efficiently you work too. Like, if you get your work and you complete it all quickly, no reason you can't check out a lot of times, right? So that is the workload. What does day-to-day look like? You will be coding. You will have a few meetings like stand-up meetings, and you will be reviewing code. All right, so as a developer, if you are, let's call it introverted, this is great for you because if you're coding, you're pretty much alone. If you are reviewing code, you are pretty much alone, which means you can tuck away in the corner, you can go in your room and hide and just look at the code. Like, I don't know about you, but I grew up an introvert personally. Nowadays, I call myself more of an extrovert, but being able to just take your computer, hide away and go just code and learn and code and learn, it's like a video game, right? So if you grew up playing video games, like, this is literally perfect for you. I know that's what I did growing up, and this feels like a dream because it feels like a video game and it's so quick. There's so much, you get so much dopamine when you get something to work. So it's almost like video games in adult form, right? So most of your job entails coding and reviewing code. You have a few meetings like stand-up, but they're usually pretty short and your calendar is usually pretty open. And if I'll give one piece of advice that, like, once you're in this role, your job is to have a great attitude. Your job is to have a great attitude because odds are you're going to be surrounded by other engineers who are far more experienced than you, and despite what you might think, they're usually a lot, not necessarily smarter than you, but they've just seen more things, right? They can point out issues with their code. They can see around corners. They can see things that you don't see because they've just been doing this a lot longer. So learn everything that you can from the people around you, right? Have a great attitude. Be willing to mess up. Be willing to learn. Be willing to do hard things and be willing to learn from these people. And I promise you, if you do these things, you will get the return offer for the money you are looking for. You will get the return offer, you will get more skills, and you will get to where you want to go. Okay, so these are the basic things. And I put 500K plus here. If you're a great engineer, your salary can accelerate so quickly. I mean, there's tons of engineers out there. You can look them up online, making 500 to $1 million every single year. So if that is a future that you look forward to, that you want to aspire to, just do these basic things, and getting a junior or intern role is the way to break into the industry, right? So that's what the role entails. This is what I would recommend doing. This is what your day-to-day looks like. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something about this, I have other videos on this channel. I have a free training down below in the description. So I have a free training for you that shows exactly how you can break into this industry. And it goes even more in depth than what we've covered today. Go ahead, get that free training for yourself, and you're gonna love what you see there. But other than that, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.